3 minutes, I have arrived by Saudi Arabian Railways to Riyadh, the capital, basically in the center of Saudi Arabia and the Arabian Peninsula writ large. And now I've got to find a taxi and get to the hotel I booked, and get some food. And I think I'm probably too tired to explore the city, but we'll see once I get a bite to eat. The journey was utterly pleasant, very quiet. There were only a handful of stops, and I think it was 135 Saudi riyals. So it really wasn't too bad. It was so much better than taking a bus or riding in a service taxi. I actually got to sit and read a book, and the vibe was really mellow. Nobody bothers you. A couple children running around screaming, but that's par for the course. I would say this was a really good experience. I think I read this line was actually inaugurated in 1998. So it's been around for about 25 years. It's not new like the Haramain line on the west coast of the peninsula. But yeah, this was good. I would definitely do this again. I love taking trains. It's about the same length as going from New York to Washington, where I'm from. Saudi Arabia is so incredibly safe as a foreign traveler that just to use the bathroom after debarking from the train, I just put my bags down on the floor in the hallway next to the bathrooms and wasn't even worried for a second. And that is owing, of course, to the intensity of the security state that exists here. But the benefit of that on the upside is that it's a place where you don't worry about anybody stealing anything. And I think there are very, very few places in the world you can say that about. And, you know, maybe you can say that about places in the UAE and some other spots in this region. But yeah, it's just one of my many observations of the time that I'm here. So this is my first full day in Riyadh, the Saudi Arabian capital. And I'm out skating around looking for somewhere to eat. And some of my first thoughts, I've got a lot of them, because this is a place that I've read about for so long and wondered about for years, but it was never really possible to visit, especially with all of my work as a journalist, largely focused on the terror wars and the years of the Arab Spring. Yeah, Saudi Arabia is I just have lots of random thoughts. So it is not at all set up for solo style independent travel. Basically, if I were to come back here, I would come back with about 5 times as much money, and the first thing I would do would be to rent a car, because the cities are huge. The distances between the cities are quite vast, and the cities are also really sprawling. And although they're actually building a metro here in Riyadh, it is certainly not close to completion. And so, at least thank God I have my skateboard with me. I don't really go anywhere without my skateboard, so this at least can ameliorate the distances a little bit, but it's kind of a band-aid on a bullet wound as far as getting around. But I'm thankful for my band-aid. See, this is my vibe, and then this is kind of the Riyadh vibe. It's a bit of a contrast. One thing that I instantly notice about Saudi Arabia and how it differentiates from other neighboring Arab majority nation states is that there are almost no mom and pop businesses here. Everything is a chain. Everything is very sanitized. Most everything takes, or maybe everything takes a debit card. And that wasn't even true in Kuwait. Even in Kuwait, you could find some like Indian and Pakistani street food and stuff like that was sort of, you know, cash only. And in Saudi Arabia, like they hand you the machine to use a tap debit or credit card. Here's another just random thought. Everybody here that I interact with assumes that I'm here. The first assumption, maybe, I don't know, as a Westerner or as somebody from far away, let's say, is that I'm here on business. So people will often say things like, in other words, how foreign budget travel is to Saudi Arabia. People will say things like, oh, well, I'm sure your company will pay for that, or can't your company rent you a car? And I'm trying to explain to people that I'm doing this vast overland trip, you know, from Jordan to the United Arab Emirates. And it's just like a very foreign concept, but that owes to just how new independent travel is to this region. And what kind of a foreign idea basically that budget travel is. I think there's a thinking that, you know, if you come from far enough away, you probably have a certain amount of money. You know, if you've made it all the way to Saudi Arabia, that seems to kind of be the theme. So here I've managed to get a falafel sandwich and an orange juice for a very reasonable price. But yeah, it's very interesting trying to get around here. Here's one travel tip I would definitely give for Saudi Arabia is that you absolutely, and I think this is par for the course for probably almost all international travelers today, you simply must get a Saudi SIM card. And for a reason you might not expect. Now, you probably think, oh, you would need that for Uber or Careem or Bolt to use car services and stuff like that, or just to post on Instagram or what have you. There's a more abstract reason. A lot of things, like say budget food in Saudi Arabia, like this falafel place, the sign is just in Arabic. There is nothing in English. And I conducted the entire transaction in Arabic. Now, I speak some Arabic, a modicum of Arabic. I think I comprehend more than I can speak. But I've been too lazy to ever study the language, which is to my great shame. And thus I cannot read Arabic. So Google Maps actually helps you translate what's what. So I was looking for some Indian street food. The place I was looking for was under repair. So then I was like, maybe just type in falafel on Google Maps. Now there was a falafel place across the street, and in English on Google Maps it said something falafel, and then here behind me you have the sign that is, you know, a falafel place in Arabic. So partly because international travel is, again, I'm going to be reiterating it throughout this Saudi Arabian part of my travel series, is such a new phenomenon here that a lot of things are just in Arabic. When I went to get some dinner last night, the menu was entirely in Arabic, which I find, number one, more interesting, and number two, kind of more challenging. And to put it in today's language, I might say that it's more authentic, to use an very much overused term. So yeah, it's definitely challenging here, but in a good way. And if you want to eat cheaply, you definitely need to be able to translate some stuff via Google and Google Maps. It makes a huge difference. So this is my hotel here in Riyadh. It is called Centro. It is a Rotana hotel, which is a brand that I know pretty well from my Abu Dhabi days, and part of why I picked it. And this is as cheap as I could find that was actually a decent place, but it's $100 US a night. So that is definitely not cheap, but and it's pretty minimal. I like it. It's got a little rooftop pool, and everyone minds their own business, and they don't mind that I have a skateboard, so it's fine with me, actually. I just wish it was cheaper. So I've arrived at the base of Kingdom Center, and I want to go up to the Sky Bridge, which is the whole reason I'm here, and get a view of all of Riyadh from the top. And I have no idea where the elevator is. So this is present day Riyadh. And it is very high end. It's crazy to think that Saudi Arabia is physically, geographically contiguous with Iraq and Yemen. And look at this opulence. It's wild. I don't know. Do you think my fake Seiko from Baghdad holds up to Ryan Gosling's Tag Heuer? I guess it depends on opinion. Hot take on walking around Riyadh. It's really not a thing because, as you can see, they're building the metro all down the road here, and basically there are almost no sidewalks because, well, this metro system is being constructed because the metro basically, like right here, it takes up all the pedestrian space. Wow. Trying to get access to visit the Sky Bridge, which from watching some more famous YouTube personalities you would think was a piece of cake, but there's actually a really hard-nosed gatekeeper who's like busting everybody's chops, and I'm asking him to let me up there. I don't know if he's going to. So I'm now going back to him for the third time to see if I can buy a ticket. Okay, the gatekeeper finally let me in. So we'll see now if I can buy a ticket and actually go up to the Sky Bridge. I love how there's such a little drama in all this kind of stuff. Okay, we are now transferring to another elevator. And this whole experience feels weirdly tense. Everybody's whispering. It's like everyone's just glad to have gotten a ticket, I guess. So we're now in, our cohort is in a second elevator on the 77th floor to go up to the 99th floor. And here we are, the 99th floor. Nicely lit green for Eid. This is so surreal, just the whole vibe. Wow. But it is really cool up here. Oh man, it is so high up. And this is only the 5th tallest building in Saudi Arabia. It was completed in 2002, and it was, I read that it was co-designed or by American architecture firm and a Saudi partner firm here in Riyadh. Wow. The windows are pretty dusty, but the view is still really cool. I was joking with a colleague on LinkedIn while waiting for the elevator that the tension in trying to get up to the Sky Bridge kind of was evocative of applying for an Iranian tourist visa, like in the 90s or something. It had that whole kind of supplicant feel where I was talking in a very low tone and quietly showing that I had a numbered ticket in the queue to buy a ticket. There were several steps to get up here, but the view is absolutely ridiculous. I wish it was either daylight or the windows were cleaner, but it's really cool though. This is definitely a cool experience. From up here, you can see how utterly flat Riyadh is, that it's built atop a plateau. And without buildings made by man, it would otherwise be featureless. There are a number of other tall skyscrapers here, and Kingdom Tower is used in a lot of documentaries where there's anything about Saudi Arabia's politics or, you know, anything in the news. There is a lot of like cool stock footage of Kingdom Tower. So even if you haven't been to Riyadh, you might recognize it. I also, I just filmed a juggling short at the base of it. But it is very cool up here. Everything, as you can see, all the buildings, everything is green themed for Eid. sort of occurred to me that maybe the reason they're so strict on the carrying capacity of the elevators has to do with they want to limit the amount of weight there is up here in the sky bridge. You know, maybe the sheer physics have something to do with it, who knows. They don't explain anything. They also didn't tell us how long we have up here, and they didn't tell us the price because you just tap your debit card, but I think it was 69 reals. That ended up being a really fun experience, despite the tense, awkward start that it had. Ended up meeting some really cool people up on the sky bridge and heard some great stories, and I learned some more about Saudi Arabia. So that ended up being well worth the 69 reals. One thing that you'll notice pretty much as soon as you get to Riyadh is that this city is in no way built for the pedestrian. You pretty much have to take a car everywhere, and the scale of everything is absolutely overwhelming. All of the stores are huge, and everything is new. I mean, a lot of this stuff looks like it's less than 5 or maybe 10 years old. And so you pretty much rely on rideshare apps here. It's really essential. It's not like, you know, Amman or Beirut where it's like, oh, I'm feeling lazy, I'll take a car, or like, nah, to hell with it, I'll walk across the city. In Riyadh, no way. I mean, so many distances are like 10K from one place to another within the city. So you really rely on these apps more heavily than I'm usually comfortable with.